Good morning and welcome back to White Mountains Today here on White Mountain TV 16. Chrissy Frazier from the Mount Washington Observatory is here. How are you?
Fabulous. Yeah, it's gorgeous out there today.
Isn't it gorgeous? What a day.
What a week.
Oh, crazy.
These vacationers got it.
I know. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, when we got a little bit of fresh snow yesterday and then, you know, these temperatures today are
perfect.
Today and tomorrow. And just
get outside, go play.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely a good, surprisingly how warm.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's been
up and down, but it's not, you know, last night was a little bit breezy, so a little bit chilly because of the wind.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I went out cross-country skiing, and Nancy and I went out Wednesday night, and it was spectacular. It was calm, and we're just, you know, temperatures were perfect. So, I mean, she's actually been out every day this week. Because of the conditions
nice. Yeah, I actually, it's funny, the library had a lecture series at the Weather Discovery Center last night, and there was a couple of people that are locals who tend to sometimes not ski necessarily during the vacation week because it's a little busier. Yeah. They're like, we just can't not go out.
Oh, I know.
The conditions are so great, you know. So they've been out, and I know Monday we had a day trip go up to the summit, and they were like, well, it's only like 10-mile-per-hour winds. Where's our wind? Where's our terrible weather? You know. So. It's certainly been a roller coaster of conditions.
Absolutely, so. And right now the conditions pretty calm. Well, we say pretty calm on the summit of Mount Washington, 50-mile-an-hour winds and diminishing. But they had a peak gust within the last day of 111. So
yeah, they
not completely
keeping it interesting.
Absolutely, but it looks great. I love those photos like that one today with the clouds in the background. And
yeah, they see some amazing. Some beautiful stuff.
So let's talk about the observatory. You got a bunch of things going on, but let's talk about this week. This is a great week for someone to check out the Weather Discovery Center.
Oh yeah, so you know, the Weather Discovery Center right down here across the street from you all, down in the village. It's open 10 to 5. We've extended hours during the vacation week, and it's a great sort of opportunity to go learn a little bit more about what we do. And it's just for any weather enthusiast, or there's interactive exhibits for the kids, and sort of it really satisfies all sort of age ranges, and people just come and hang out and chat and talk about, you know, they kind of pop around and look at the history of the observatory, but then also there's twice a day there's a live feed to the summit. So that if you can't make it to the summit in even any months in the summer or the winter, most people don't make it in the winter, but you get an opportunity to really talk to them, and they show you live feeds of what's happening on the summit, you know, at that moment.
Right.
And it's just kind of neat because you feel like you're getting a little sense of really what's happening. And although you can see Mount Washington as you come into the village, and it looks like it's just right at your fingertips. But when you talk to these guys and you're like, what do you mean it's 100-mile-per-hour winds up there right now and minus 50 wind chill? It's like 60 and sunny down here, you know. So it's pretty neat, and so that's a nice opportunity. And they do that twice a day at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So,
so one coming up here in just about an hour or so.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of fun. The Weather Discovery Center, we go in there all the time. You have different favorites of what you like. I of course like the wind room,
the shaky shack,
with the cat, which is just a lot of fun. So it's definitely, if you have any interest in weather. Even if you don't have interest in weather, this will get you interested in weather, is going into the Weather Discovery Center and checking out. Some of those photos right there were actually for the museum of the summit of Mount Washington.
Oh yeah, that's the Extreme Mount Washington Museum.
Extreme Mount Washington.
Which is really shares the winter experience for the summer guests.
Right, which can't go up there now.
You can.
You can.
Not everybody can, but we do offer winter day trips, and we have edu trips, and there's some climbing trips. A lot of the area guide schools, we partner with them, and they do guide for the real hardy who want to do some mountaineering. We have a trip going Saturday that's actually Joe Lentini's leading it. He's obviously a long-time climber in the valley, and that's an edu trip, so it's going up in the snowcap, but then they practice mountaineering skills in the outdoor. You know, they get the full sense of it. That's a really popular one. So there's still a few day trip spaces available. They're typically on Mondays and Fridays, but otherwise, you know, in the winter months, that's really the only way to get up there. Or if you don't really want to go to the summit, you can always go to the auto road and do the snow coach tours.
Right.
Which get you, it gets you just above 4,000 feet, and you still get the difference of, like, once you get above tree line, how extremely different it can be from what you're experiencing here. Yep. So.
And with the conditions that we have this week, it's great time to try to do any of those things. So.
Yeah, it's been super.
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
So what do you have? What do you got coming up? You brought a backpack here because Seek the Peak's coming up here.
Seek the Peak's coming up. But before I go to Seek the Peak, I was a couple things. I mean, if you're going out into into the backcountry, or if you're going out to do anything. This Vibe magazine, which is one of the local magazines that Dan Hood's been putting together, that's really amazing. And there's a whole story in here about using our forecasts and just being smart about understanding what you're going to be up against in sort of the different elevations. And so it's really well done. The observers put it together. It just has a lot of information, but I think and there's also some beautiful photography in it, which is always Ryan Knapp, and it's all those guys take great pictures, but Knapper's up there as the night observer that captures so many amazing things. But the first thing we have coming up before Seek the Peak is the 85th anniversary of our big wind, the 231 mile per hour wind gusts. So April 12th, we have an open house happening at the Weather Discovery Center, and we have our Taylor Regan, who's our observer on the summit, but a research specialist, and then Eric Kelsey, who's our director of research, will do a presentation on the big wind, but also just sort of the history of the weather on the summit and how it makes the observatory, like the Mount Washington, such an extreme environment.
Right.
And, so we're pretty excited about that, and so we'll have the museum will be free for the day. We'll have some refreshments, and staff will be on hand to just chat with people and to share more stories about the observatory. So that's Friday, April 12th is one of the things we have coming up.
Definitely want to plan on that, because that should be a lot of fun. 85 years. Wow.
Yep. So we're excited for that event. But then and then we roll into Seek the Peak. Before you know it, I mean, for all the snow we have,
right,
it will melt, and people will start to get fired up about hiking, and we, Seek the Peak's the third week of July every year, so July 19th and 20th this year. We already have close to 100 people registered.
Terrific.
Folks fundraise, and as they reach certain fundraising thresholds, they earn prizes. And for example, Eastern Mountain Sports, who's one of the presenting sponsors, each year does a backpack for us. And so this was a backpack from last year that we're gonna, you guys will raffle off later on today.
Yeah.
And then you also get, when you reach the $200, you get a T-shirt. This is last year's, but this year we'll do something similar. And you get a Hart's Turkey dinner, and you get to, we have 2 parties throughout the weekend. We have a huge vendor expo where all the sponsors and a lot of the area organizations that sort of kind of collaborate with us table out at the base of the Mount Washington Auto Road, and it's just an awesome weekend, and it's all in support of the Mount Washington Observatory, but people come and do it for all different reasons, and some just are their goals to summit Mount Washington, and that's like a perfect kind of way to go about it. So it's an awesome weekend.
But you don't have to go up Mount Washington. You can seek any peak you want.
You can seek your peak, exactly. So that's what's fun about it. Again, if you're just an outdoor enthusiast and you just want to come and support the observatory and earn prizes, you could sit in your hotel room and just come to the parties. I mean, that's one way. But we offer a nature walk. We're going to do probably a nature walk around the Great Glen Trails area, and then Will Broussard, who's our education specialist, he typically takes a group and does like a little bit more moderate hike, but he's also like a naturalist, so he'll talk about the flora and the fauna, and people have really enjoyed that in the past few years. And then there's some people that go the other extreme and do like a Prezi Traverse, or like Brian Fitzgerald, our director of education, he did like a figure 8 and summited twice in one day. People do all kinds of wonky things.
Right.
So it's not a race, it's not a competition, it's completely just to come out and really enjoy the weekend with us.
Right, the camaraderie and everything. It's a great weekend for that.
Yeah, so we always, the staff loves it, because it's like just great energy.
Sure.
Fun. Yeah.
So that's coming up, so you definitely want to sign up, start getting, doing some fundraising. If you start now, you can kind of just do a little bit at a time and not feel overwhelmed, and then you'll be surprised how much you're going to be raising for the Mount Washington Observatory.
Exactly.
Which is very cool.
And we appreciate that very much.
Absolutely, because the observatory is just such a unique thing, and it's far beyond just what we have right here in the Mount Washington Valley. I mean, you do stuff all around, and people pay attention to Mount Washington.
Yeah, I mean, the educational outreach, the programs that Brian and Will have been doing over the past few years, which Will Broussard does a lot of, he'll do on-site programming, and he does it all over New England. He had this year like exponentially been out on the road doing those, which is really wonderful, and he gets to really do face-to-face with a lot of people. And then, but they do distance learning programs too, in which are basically from the summit and with Will like on the background, they program into schools, into schools or even libraries or any kind of, if a community wants to set something up, they do that. So that's been, even all over the world, they've done some distance learning programs. So yeah, it's an important organization, and it's really, there's a lot of resources that we then kind of, because of the history and the data set and all that we have, we are able to really get out there and share that with people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. And of course, you can always go to the website, mountwashington.org. Org's comms, they always make it.
I know.
But mountwashington.org.
Yeah.
And I as I say here on the show all the time, I check it all the time and see what the weather is doing, the wind, and especially on the days when you can see it, you're like, okay, what is the wind like up there?
Yeah.
And the times when you have the tail, the wisps of clouds going off.
Yep.
The leeward
content.
side. And
yeah, we always hear from members like around the country that say, I keep the current summit conditions page on when I log on my computer in the morning, and it's, if they're in California and it's 70 and sunny, and they're like, and I'm looking at what you're experiencing on the summit, and people just love it. It's definitely has a lot of sort of history for people.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. So,
yeah.
Anything else in the long-term forecast for the observatory?
No, I mean, I think, stop by the Weather Discovery Center while you're here. And,
absolutely.
And really chat with Tom or Larry, who are the Summit Museum attendants, and they're like really wonderful to just chat with. And they'll pull up the website and they'll walk you through some of the forecasts or any kind of things that you're interested in learning more about. And then like I said, the Live from the Rock Piles, or what we call when live summit feed, is just always really intriguing. So, yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We definitely want to check that out. And we are going to give away that backpack a little bit later on in the program. We will do that for you. And I think you said we have another one to give away this weekend.
Yep,
too, so.
I put another one out front there.
And so that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thanks to the observatory. And so definitely check that out. And Chrissy, good to see you as always.
Nice to see you too.
We'll see you soon.
Enjoy the rest of the week.
Back here in a minute on White Mountains Today.